Welcome to Silicon Valley Asian Business Talk.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rajat Chen, a professor at the University of San Francisco Center for Business Studies and Innovation in Asia Pacific, and short for CBSI AP. Today, first, we want to thank the Facebook House for hosting this event. This is a very, very special venue for us to do this interview. And we also want to thank you, Raj, for coming to our interview program. And would you please briefly introduce yourself before we start the conversation?
Yeah, thanks, Roger, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So I'll give a quick introduction about myself. I'm originally born in Toronto, Canada. I grew up around the world in different countries, Abu Dhabi and UK. Parents originally came from India. And I went to Waterloo undergrad, did engineering and economics there. In my last year, Waterloo is where I came up with the idea for the company that eventually became Lyft, and started working with my co-founders there, Logan, John, and other folks. I also got into this program in the US. It's a PhD MBA program at MIT, very unique program. Only 4 people in the world were accepted into it. So I felt, it was a great opportunity. It was a full ride at MIT. I started my program there at MIT, but I realized it was nothing compared to the thrill of startup. So I dropped out, and began working, on my entrepreneurial career. And this was in 2008, the absolute bottom of the stock market, the biggest part of the recession in the fall. Everyone thought I was absolutely crazy, but I was ready to be hopeless. I was ready to do whatever I needed to do to make this, make startups work. And it turned out to be a great time to start a company. And so that's how it started. I started another company called Presto, which became the market leader for AI and automation in the restaurant space, working with big restaurant chains like Applebee's and Chili's, Denny's, Red Lobster, Del Taco, and Jack in the Box, those types of big
And you eventually went for a public,
I went public in 2022. And I left shortly thereafter, and since then I've started 2 new companies. One is called Lima, which is a mission-driven organization I've started with my wife to help skilled immigrants come to the U.S. So we help skilled immigrants with every part of their journey to get visas and green cards, because the immigration system in the U.S. is a nightmare, and I know this as an immigrant myself, and having a lot of immigrants working for me. And then I also started another company, which is back to my tech roots. It's called Tribe. It's the next generation group chat platform. It's what I think is going to be next after WhatsApp, after WeChat, after all these legacy platforms, which are over 10 years old at this point. And so we're trying to reinvent group chat and really focusing on building closer communities online on your phone. So yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. I also have a podcast called Founders in Arms, and I do this with the CEO and founder of Mercury, Imad Akut. We talk to different founders every week. We've had some great people on. We had Aaron Levy last week from Box. We had Paul English from Kayak. A lot of great people coming on the podcast, and something I enjoy doing to contribute back to the community.
Thank you very much.
Making successful pivots in new venture development.
So my next question is about pivot, because actually one of your companies called Presto actually mentioned, during the pandemic time, this company had a major pivot. Maybe could you tell us the story about the pivot story, because I think that's very, very important for many, many startup companies.
Totally, yeah.
And the wisdom, the lessons from there.
Yeah. I mean, both Lyft and Presto had very significant pivots.
Yeah. So maybe share with us the story of Lyft and also Presto.
Yeah. So Lyft started as a carpooling service, where we could find people to share rides with. And we started working with universities. So actually it was a very university-centric service, because we were all students at the time.
Oh,
We started. Me and Logan were both 22.
oh,
Around 22. And so he was at University of Santa Barbara, and I was at Waterloo. And, we all wanted to solve this problem for students where they wanted to get home, wherever there was. And they, students didn't have their own cars, so we needed to carpool. And you could find a ride with other students on this website at that time, right? And that's how we started. And we started doing a B2C service. And then my co-founders wanted to kind of go and just sell a product to universities. But as it turned out that selling product to university is very hard. Universities are very bureaucratic. You might know this, right? So, They don't tend to adopt.
They're
developers
definitely
adopt.
not the early adopters
Exactly.
in most of the innovations.
Exactly. So that was a big mistake, right? And what happened was Uber came out, with this ride hailing idea, but they were ride hailing with like black cars or black cabs, right? So very expensive cars. But Lyft came up with the idea of being peer to peer, ride sharing via ride hailing on the phone. The phone actually came out after the Lyft was founded. So this was a new technology that came out. Um, and it, what Lyft did was pivot back into B2C with ride hailing, but for peer to peer, and turned out to be one of the greatest pivots of all time. I mean, it was so great that Uber actually copied Lyft. Uber X it was called at the time, was the copy of Lyft's peer to peer service, and then both companies grew rapidly after that, right? Presto, yeah, started with this idea with a tablet on the table, so guests could order and pay.
You mean the restaurant, you mean?
Yeah. And I mean, you still have them in many restaurants, Applebee's and all these places. Like they have tablets where you can order and pay, and without waiting for someone, you can just you can fill out a survey, you can play games with your kids, you can see pictures of all the food, all those things. So that's how it started. And in 2019, we actually had our best year ever. We tripled. We signed big deals with Denny's and some other customers. Chili's were rolling out. Great, it was a great time. And then early 2020, what happens? The pandemic hits, all restaurants are shut down, right?
Yeah.
And all our momentum we got basically, right? Existential moment, right? Company doesn't have any customers. Tablets are just bricks at that point, right? And not only that, our supply chain is wrecked. Our supply chain in China is like, totally wrecked as well. So we started working on our next gen. We were already working in AI at that time with computer vision and voice AI. This was already an interest of ours. And then we started applying it to drive-throughs. We're still open. So we started doing computer vision for drive-throughs where we could recognize the cars as they came in, and we could personalize the menu based on your previous orders. And then we had voice AI to be able to take your order, with the ASR, automatic speech recognition, as well as we use combination of AI and human in the loop to take people's orders with AI, we were able to make the experience much better for the consumer, and we were able to help restaurants with a severe labor shortage that was there in the pandemic. You could actually increase what labor in the restaurant could do, because they didn't have to take the order; they could do other things. So they could increase the labor productivity significantly. And the AI never forgot to upsell. So we had these things where we would always remember to ask if you want the milkshake. So restaurants actually made more money. And that product became very successful very quickly. Because again, I had the knowledge at that point of like how to make products that fit. I knew this was the labor thing was the top problem for the restaurant, and they knew what to pay money for a solution like that. So that product really took off, and we signed several large contracts before I left, and so and then now it seems like almost like a obvious idea. To put AI in drive-thrus, yeah, of course, all drive-thrus will have AI, right? And I also think computer vision is going to be everywhere too. Computer vision, there's a company called like Flock Safety, which are putting license plate recognition cameras all over the country to help catch criminals. Criminals do something bad, they get away in their car, no one can see them, but no, these cameras are catching them. And even Los Altos, actually around here, they have cameras. They catch people, so don't do anything bad today. They'll catch you.
Right, that's true. So actually,
Can I get one more of these?
yeah. And also, what's the lesson, actually going or managing these pivot process, what might go wrong and the wisdom, kind of the wisdom, the reflections of and we deal with different things. It's many times it's a major shift.
Yeah, so I think pivoting is essential to the founder journey. And founders need to think about what is their goal and are they actually making rapid progress towards the goal or are they not? And
what do you mean by that? Are you rapid progress toward the goal or not?
So most founders have a goal in mind. Their goal might be to get a certain revenue target or usage target or some other thing. And they may feel like, the current path is not getting them there. Right? Like, and so that in the pandemic, for example, we obviously had to pivot because it was that in the company we had, right? But even in Lyft's case, college universities were just slow. It wasn't like everyone was saying no, but it was just slow. And there was just a faster path to get to where you wanted to be. And so you always have to be evaluating as a founder, like, is the current path the right one, or the other path that'll get you there faster? And I think most founders, I mean, you could just look at the Lyft story and realize like how powerful a pivot can be. And maybe as a founder, you should realize that you're only one pivot away from like greatness. Like if like too many founders, I think, would accept mediocrity. Like they'll accept like, oh, well, my business is growing a little bit. I've seen founders spend decades on like making basically very little progress.
But you have a little aspiration, so they're kind of okay with.
Yeah, they're just chugging along, and maybe the company does, it doesn't really get anywhere, right?
Yeah.
It's just like surviving. And some founders are okay with that, but I would say like, if you're an ambitious founder, you should want to get to the top. And so like, in many cases, there is a way to get to the top, but you have to find that way. And it's not obvious. And it's like the deeper you get into a problem, the more you realize there are other opportunities and other options. And actually, that's very unique insight someone will have once they're in a space. So like, for example, at Presto, because we were in the space, we were in the arena, we could see the opportunity regardless, right? And because we already developed a bunch of technology, we already had like a brand in restaurants. So we saw the opportunity because we were in it. And so founders have this unique advantage of being in it, and they can see more opportunities than say someone new entering the space.
But that's kind of interesting because I heard the similar thing about those kind of some mediocre founders. They're not kind of aspire to kind of grow very big, just like even a term called a zombie startups. They just stay hanging there forever, right? So then the question is actually, is that because these companies, the founders don't, or the company don't have the insights, or the founders don't have the aspiration, or both? Or maybe something else.
I think it's a founder issue.
The founder issue.
Yeah, I think founders need to be impatient. And I think some people start companies because they just don't want to work in a bigger company and they just want to kind of do their own
Yeah,
thing.
like a lifestyle.
Yeah. Some people start companies because they actually want to have major impact and they realize we only have so many years to have impact, as human beings. So you want to make the most of it and take big swings while you're at it, right?
Yeah, that's a very different philosophy, right?
Yeah. And I think it's hard. I mean, I don't think you'd see ever like some of the best founders that we all kind of admire, just chugging along. Steve Jobs had his own like wilderness phase when he worked on Next, right? But even him at a certain point was like, this is not getting me there, right? I mean, that's a great example of a founder that only works at B2C and not B2B. Because at Next, the B2B company,
Next
he basically failed, right? But at a B2C company, he was a god, right? So like. That's why founders have to realize, like, if this path isn't getting them there, they may have to make a personal pivot, just do a different company, like so.
But that's very good insight because I never thought about Steve Jobs, from that angle. Like Apple is B2C, then the next is B2B, and we should not do that well.
Yeah.
And return to Apple B2C. So I think his talent really was in the B2C.
Yeah, if you think about it, it makes sense. I mean, he's a very artistic person. He had great taste. And B2B don't care about that.
Yeah, very rational, right?
Yeah, they don't care about that. So we're relationship driven. Steve Jobs probably isn't the best at building relationships. So he's not like a glad handler or like a schmoozer type of guy. So he's great at building amazing products. And if you're great at building amazing products, that's your skill set. B2C consumers will appreciate that more than executives.
Yeah. That's great.
Thank you for watching.